Hi everyone! In this lecture we're going to get set up with Pandas and Jupyter. Before going through the setup, I would like to introduce you back to the Pandas. We have talked about Pandas a little bit. We are going to talk about it again a little bit in this getting started course, but in the next essentials course we are going to talk about Pandas a lot. So Pandas is a popular Python library that contains tools for data analysis and data visualization. Data analysis and data visualization are important aspects of data science. Now, the way that Pandas works is Pandas has data structures for organizing and manipulating data. Pandas can also be integrated with SQL Alchemy to work with databases. So what about Jupyter Notebooks? So I think it was the start of our SQL Essentials course where I talked about how whenever you're working with any kind of technology, you need to have some sort of platform on which you can basically exercise that technology or interact with that technology. So Python, a programming language, one of the environments in which Python can be executed, Python can be written, is VS Code. You might have Sublime, you might have Atom, you might have VS Code, but Jupyter is actually another environment in which you can write interactive Python code. Now you might be wondering, okay, why do I have to write Python code in Jupyter? Now, whenever you're working on data analysis tasks, you will not be creating conventional Python applications. Instead, your code will result in diagrams, plots, calculations, and analysis of all the visualizations obtained. Jupyter Notebooks, which is the complete name, allow us to write interactive Python code that creates visualizations easily. Now, the real-world approach is to use Pandas along with Jupyter Notebooks. So Pandas is a Python library. Jupyter Notebooks is a Python environment in which you can access the code or the methods from the Pandas library. Now, again, the real-world approach is to use Pandas along with Jupyter Notebooks to succeed in the field of data analysis, data visualization, and eventually data science with Python. So to get started, even though we are not going to work with VS Code in this section or in this course or in our next course, we are going to work with Jupyter Notebooks. Now, the way Jupyter Notebooks are set up are going to be different than the way you install VS Code application. So for VS Code, you go to code.visualstudio.com and you download it for your OS. But when you're working with Jupyter, it's going to be different. So the first approach that I'm going to go with is going to be the simpler approach, and that is getting set up with Jupyter and Pandas within our terminal. So I really like the terminal in VS Code, and you can just go to VS Code and use the VS Code terminal, or you can just go ahead and use PowerShell, or if you're on Mac, you can just use the terminal. Doesn't really matter. But I'm going to apply these commands in this environment, in this terminal, which is actually PowerShell. So it doesn't really matter. The reason that I'm doing it here is because you need to provide some sort of directory for your Jupyter Notebooks. So I want my Jupyter Notebooks to be on the desktop and in the data analysis for data science getting started course. I think that's better. So all of our notebooks are going to be within one directory. The reason that I'm doing it is mainly for teaching purposes. Then I will grab this directory and I will convert it to zip file, and then I'm going to upload it so you have the access to this code for this section, the way that we have been doing so far. So in here, first off, so there are going to be 3 commands. And I should probably I'm just going to create an app.py file. I'm not going to be writing any code. This is just going to be comments. So the first command is going to be pipenv install pandas. Now make sure you do this. First install pandas, and secondly go ahead and in pipenv install Jupyter. The second thing that you need to install is going to be Jupyter, and basically that's it. Then go ahead and initialize or activate that virtual environment, and then we can go ahead and use Jupyter Pandas within Jupyter. Now the reason that I will not be showing how these are installed is because these are a little bit heavier packages, packages that pip has to install. It's going to take longer for me to show you. I do not want you to just sit around and just look at my window as it is going through the setup. So I don't have any pip file, so I've not installed it. I'm going to pause the video right here, and I'm going to install both of them. Make sure you are within your virtual environment. From bottom left corner, from here, you're within the virtual environment, which is for now this one, and make sure it is activated. Then we are going to move on. So go ahead, pause the video, and just install these, and I'm just going to be back in like 1 second. All right, so I hope the installation has gone successful. For me, it took around about 37 minutes. So what I've done is I've installed Pandas and also Jupyter. Now, next up, what we are going to do first is to just clear that. And I've also provided you with 2 CSV files, which we're going to take a look at in this section. So it is salespeople and we have sales. Both of these are very familiar to you. We have talked about them in our SQL Essentials course. So first off, let's go ahead and let's initialize this virtual environment. So I'm just going to say, let's just copy that, just put it right here, save it. And let's just wait a couple of seconds until it selects it. There we go. Perfect. And now I'm going to say pipenv shell. Just activate that virtual environment. The virtual environment is activated. Now the next command is just write Jupyter Notebook. So the official name is Jupyter Notebook or Notebooks. Now when you write this, don't do anything else. Make sure your environment is activated and just press enter. Okay, this window is empty. It's going to create some server log, and then you can see that this Chrome is actually being highlighted. And when you come here, there we go. So congratulations, this is your very first Jupyter Notebook interaction. So before coming to this page and introducing you to Jupyter Notebook, I have to say that Jupyter Notebook is a browser-based interactive Python environment. So any code that you want to write in Jupyter Notebook, you will be writing that in a web browser. So that is the first rule, right? Now let's understand the Jupyter server first. So when I said Jupyter Notebook, what happened? It said the port 8888 is already in use because I have another notebook open through the Anaconda, through this window, which I'm going to show you how you can install in our next course. Next Pandas course, not next course. Then it said the port 8889 is already in use, trying another port, and then it says serving notebooks from local directory. This Jupyter Notebook 6.4.0 is running at 8890 at this URL. So this is the server that is listening on any incoming requests from the browser. All right, and you can, if the browser didn't pop up, what are other ways? So I'm just going to close this browser, right? Now, the first way is just hover on any of these links. So you can go to that link through here or here. It says use Control-C to stop the server and shut down all kernels. Or to access the notebook, open this file in the browser. So you can just go ahead and copy that and just click in the browser, which is this one, and just put it and just hit enter. It's just going to take a second. Or just hover on it, press Control, click, it's going to open it. Or hover on this one, press Control and click, it's going to open it. So it doesn't really matter. For the most of the time, it's going to pop up in a window. And you can see that we have the same HTTP request and response cycle. So that's the same thing. We got a 302 GET request. All right, and so with this, I think the server log is done. There is nothing else, and it says what that is. It's a notebook app. The rest of the server is easy for you to understand because we have talked about servers a lot in our previous 4 sections. So I'm sure you understand what are all of these stuff. If you're not really feeling comfortable with it, just pause the video, take some time and read through this line by line, word by word. I told you all the important stuff. The rest of them are basically server log. So let's come in here. What is this? We are at the port 127.0.0.1 at the port 8890. This is the port that the notebook server is going to listen on for incoming HTTP requests. Here we are at the tree. So where is this window? Where is this file? So I'm just going to minimize this. Here on the desktop, I have this folder. It says the data analysis for data science getting started course. I'm just going to hit it open. It's going to open right here. There we go. So I've got VS Code, app, pip file log, salespeople. But if I come to the browser, I've got app.py, pip file log, CSV, and CSV. What does this mean? It means that we are within this directory, but we are only tracing files. We are not tracing folders. So that .vs code directory, it's not being added because this is basically like the main VS Code directory. That's why it's not being added here. So we have app.py, pip file log, sales CSV, and salespeople. Now, here we have all of our current files. Here we have the running notebook, and I'm not going to talk about this clusters for now. You can quit or you can log out. You're going to see some information here. So you have the name, you have last modified, and you have the file size. You can refresh this in case something you've added is not being added. And then how can we create a new notebook? So creating a new file in Python was easy. Just click this and just write the name of your file. But how about a new notebook? How can we do that? So in here, you're going to click on this new, and from there, you're going to select Python 3. When you click on it, it's going to open up another window, and you're going to have another request coming to the server of the Jupyter. Now, you have to keep this in mind that this server has to be running at all times. Just go ahead and minimize VS Code. And there we go. So here it is. I'm going to zoom in 2 times. So the page is 125. At the top, we have the Jupyter logo. Here is the title. If you just click on it, it's going to, this pop-up is going to appear. And in the pop-up, you basically write the name of that lesson. So the lessons for this section, they will be added. They will have an extension of IPYNB. I think IPYNB. Yeah, it's IPython notebook. IPython notebook. So this is the kind of file that VS Code cannot open. I think there are extensions that are going to open it, but it's not a good practice to open it in VS Code. Usually this is opened in Jupyter notebooks. This is a Jupyter notebook file. You can see it says untitled, and in here it says untitled. If I say test, and if I rename it, and now if I come in here, you can see it says test. So the files for this section and for the next sections, they're going to have IPYNB format. You can see IPython notebook. And the only way you can open them is using Jupyter notebooks, right? So I'm going to show that to you how you can open that. So in here, this is going to show you a last checkout, ago, unsaved changes. If you say Control S, it says auto saved. Here is the Python logo. Here is the logout. Here is Python 3. It is trusted. And then we have all the menus like VS Code, insert, edit, all relating to these cells. So in Jupyter Notebooks, we got cells. This is the in where you write, and then you have an out where you basically calculate some stuff. And in here, in between the brackets, you're going to have a number that's going to basically specify which cell has been executed first and which one has been executed last. So you might have a cell that is on the top and it has been executed the last, but you have a cell at the bottom that is executed the first. So you need to keep in mind this number. Very, very important. So let's just dive in. Enough with the theory. So this is a Python environment. Any valid Python code can run in here. So if I say print hello, I'm going to say hello Jupyter. Now, the way you run this is you hold shift and you press enter. And what is it saying? It says hello Jupyter. And you can see it says 1. And we could say like def add, let's say x and y. Very, very difficult function. And I'm going to say return x plus y. Now, you want to calculate this. You have press shift, hold it. Keep that in mind. Hold it, press enter. It has been calculated. Now let's call the function and let's pass in 2 and 10. Hold shift, press enter. And now you can see it says out. The output is 12. Now this is the first line that has run. Second line, the third line. But only the third line has an output. Okay, like that one. So this is pure Python. Anything that you do in Python, it can be done in here. The only difference is that you need to press shift and then hit enter. You can have as many lines like line 1, 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4. You could basically have as many lines as you want. You can write them here. If you want to delete a certain cell, you can just come into edit, delete cell. It's going to delete it. And let's just Control S, save it, close that, right? So I'm going to close this as well. Close the server as well. So everything is closed, right? The server is also closed. So now I'm going to say Jupyter Notebook again. It's going to open up the Jupyter Notebook server. There we go. And here is our home page. Basically I have another browser there. So here is your file, right? Here is, let's say this is the study file that I provided you, right? So the way that you open this is just basically click on it. Very simple. And now you can see all the code is right here. So when I provide you with files, with IPYNB files, it's green. It means the server is running. It's running. Then the only thing you have to do is open the notebook in that directory and click on that file. For example, you can go to any directory that you want. So if I say folders, there is no folder. Because we have this virtual environment within this directory, we can't go anywhere else. But what I would like to do is I would like to show you some other way. This is Anaconda Navigator. I'm going to show you how you can install it in our next course. Here we also have Jupyter Notebooks. When you click on it, it's going to open up a window here. So I'm going to get rid of these two. It's going to open up another window. Okay, it has opened it up right here. So when you just click on it, it's going to be like the root directory. And then you click, you go to next desktop. Here is the Jupyter, the Anaconda installation guide. And you go to like, this is the course, and here is the test. So you can navigate to anywhere that you want if you use Anaconda. So you can basically go anywhere. And here is our file. So Anaconda is very cool. It has a lot of more features. You have this Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook. You have the Spider ID, which is a very, very powerful Python ID. You have the VS Code itself. There you have the PyCharm, which is again very, very powerful IDs. We are going to work with Anaconda a lot But for the purposes of this section and this chapter, we are just going to talk about Jupyter notebooks in this fashion, in this manner. So I'm just going to open up the server. There we go. So here we are in the test. So the only thing that I am going to do in the test is going to be, I'm just going to change the name of this. I'm going to say data analysis with Pandas. With this, our lecture comes to an end. See you in the next lecture, where we are going to talk about data analysis with Pandas.